Sorry you guys couldn't make it, so what I thought about doing was just giving you a quick summary about what we talked about tonight. So parents, you'll know what your students have been talking about in Bible study, but also in the prayer groups, so that you can engage in some conversation. But also students, those of you that weren't able to be here, you'll be able to kind of still feel like part of the process. As you can tell, I don't have any students around me like I did last week, and we'll play by ear as each week goes by. So what we talked about tonight is that we continuing on with this theme about MyTribe, and what we wanted to do was use the 12 tribes of Israel as a launching point, as an illustration for what God does and how He pulled out this specific group of people, and He says, I want you to work with me, God, to bless the entire world. And when God would approach people and say, I want you to work with me, that was a promise, and that's called, and we call them as covenants. And it's a covenant relationship that's really important. But He also said, along with this covenant, there are things that I want you to demonstrate. This is what I want you to look like. And He did this four times. The first time He did it with Noah, and we call it the Noah covenant. But we're going to look at a covenant that He made with Abraham, and we're also going to look at the covenant that He made with Moses and a covenant He made with David, focusing mostly with the covenant He made with Moses. Because what He did was He says, Abraham, I want you to partner with me. I'm going to use you and your family to bless the entire world. All I want you to do is to trust the things that I say. Follow the things that I say. That's all that I want you to do. So really it was God doing everything, and all God asked of Abraham was to teach his family to trust God. Now we notice that didn't go very well for Abraham or his family. We see later on when Abraham's family kind of became finally the tribes of Israel, and Moses was then leading these tribes through Egypt and through the wilderness to the promised land. And God said to Moses, Moses, I want to covenant with you, and I want you we're going to pull these people together, the Israelites, and I want these tribes, and I want them to bless the world. All I'm asking for you is to be pure. And here are some things that I want you to accomplish, things to do to be pure. And we call those things commandments, or we call them the law. They're God's demonstration of His character, of His holiness, and what He's asking, what it looks like for us to be His people. But we see over and over again that this didn't go well for them, and they continued to rebel and rebel and rebel. The more that God was looking to them, the more they rebelled. And there were some horrible stories of rebellion, to the point to where they actually verbalized to God, we don't want you as our king. We want a human king. And God gave them that human king, and it was Saul. But then later, God brought David and said, this is the human king that I want. And He made a covenant with David. He says, David, I want you to lead your kingdom, and I want to covenant with you to lead your kingdom to bless the world. And that didn't go very well. So we have these three kinds of covenants. Again, there's four, but we're looking at the three covenants with Abraham, with Moses, and with David. And then what happens then is, after all this failure, He says, there's a new covenant coming. And we see this new covenant fulfilled through Jesus. And so as we looked at this tribe, let's apply this for a second to your family, is that if I've just told you that you're part of a tribe that's unique and is separated out, but yet there's nothing that you'll be able to do to accomplish that, what hope do we have? What is there to encourage the students and your families about this tribe that they're in? Except one thing, is that this tribe, this new covenant tribe, has a new king. And here's how this works. So along comes Jesus, and Jesus does makes some remarkable statements. The first thing He says to people, He says to the Jews and to the Jews and the nation, to everybody, He says, you guys remember Abraham? I am from Abraham. I will be the trustworthy follower. And He says, I'm going to be that person. But then He also says to the Jewish leaders and to the Jewish people and to everybody, He says, you remember Moses and the Israelites? He says, and they weren't able to follow the commandments, the law. I will be the faithful commandment because I am of the tribe of Judah. I will be the faithful one. And then he also says, you remember David? I am from David. I will be the king that you're looking for. And that's the hope that we have with this new tribe, that we are in this new covenant, because Jesus has fulfilled all the requirements that were given through through Abraham, through Moses, and through David. Jesus fulfills them all. But there's still this with this new tribe, there's still things that God is saying to do. But he says now to do them not in your own strength, but now you have a new life, a new mind to do these things I've asked you to do. So when we are encouraging students to read their Bible, we're doing so to say, you can now understand Scripture and read Scripture through the life of Christ, through the power that he gives us, and not to rely on your own emotions or thoughts. You now have a new source to go through, to witness, to evangelize to people. It's now not just through your own efforts, and now it's through through the leading of Christ that you didn't have before. So this new tribe has a new king, and that's what we talked about. That's the hope. And so now we've kind of established this truth that your tribe has a new king and a new life, a new source of power. Now we're going to go to, and we're going to, for the rest of the semester, talk about the tribes that are seen in your family. How does the life of Christ and the mind of Christ work out in this new tribe through your family? What about your church and your friends? And that's what we talked about tonight. Hopefully this was a blessing to you. Real quick, I want to give you some quick announcements that I told the students. Next week is going to be gym night, and that's where we're just going to have just a fun night in the gym. I've also given your students this form right here. This is the application and registration and information packet for Mission Arlington. I'll post this on the Facebook links, and so you'll be able to see this and access it home. But this will also be available on Sundays and Wednesdays. Just come and see me. We're inviting families to be a part of this, and families are changed through Mission Arlington. We love you. Bye. One more. There we go. So with that, just go ahead and give me a call and talk about the things that we have here. Thanks, guys. See ya.